Hi everyone, just a quick note from the last call podcast. We recently had some technical issues at the start of our chat with Matt Jarvis, which meant that we missed out on his early days and academy life. However, we managed to capture a good chunk of the conversation, starting from when he signed for Wolves. Thank you for understanding, and I just want to say a massive thank you to Matt again for being on the pod, and we hope you enjoy the episode. All right, cool. Welcome back to the Last Call podcast. Just quickly, I just want to touch on the fact that when we first came up with the idea for this show, one of my main goals was to speak to like real footballing people who've lived the game, experienced the highs and lows, and can really share what it's like beyond the headlines and what it's like to be in football. And today, I think, Trey, you can agree, we've exactly got that guest here today. A player
Definitely.
with over 200 Premier League appearances, nearly 450 career games in total, which is mad, the amount of minutes I can imagine already. He was part of a Wolves side that won the Championship in 2009. He earned promotion to the Premier League and went on to represent clubs like Westham and Norwich. And of course, reached the pinnacle of all English footballers, represented England at Wembley as well. So we'll be talking about his incredible journey through football, the challenges along the way, and what life looks like after football as well. So, Matt Jarvis, welcome to the Last Call podcast. Thank you for being
Welcome.
on. So, wanted to sort of touch on your sort of first professional contract. Obviously, you've now got into the setup with Gillingham, and I assume your first professional contract comes quite soon after. Maybe without, I don't know how much details you want to share, because we can imagine the money that's in football now for a 17-year-old, how much they're getting paid. So I would just sort of like to touch on your first contract and stuff like that.
Well, it's fine by me. I signed three. It was £300 a week. It was.
Wow. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was. It was better than my. I think it was £45 a week, youth team wages. So it was. So that was cool. But yeah, 17 years old. I signed that, and I didn't have an agent.
Okay.
At that point, I didn't think I needed an agent. I was still in the youth team. Nothing really, going on like that. So I actually signed with the Andy Hestetallers at the time. He was the playing manager.
Okay.
He was like, "Oh, my agent's great. Like, come sign with him." So I did. I used him, and then I did my deal that way.
Okay.
So the player manager at the time sort of lined you up with the agent and stuff, and that's where it moves from there.
Yeah, that was it. I didn't know what a contract or what sort of money someone at that age was supposed to go on. So so I signed that. I was £300 a week. So I was buzzing with that at the time.
Yeah.
I'll fast forward slightly, but it was one of them that it was a contract that if you got relegated, you lost 25% went down. Obviously I wasn't really I didn't really think about it too much, and then unfortunately we did get relegated, and I remember at the time the chairman was like he was like, "Oh, don't worry, we won't take it off you." Blah, blah, blah. First paycheck, took it off me straight away. Yeah, I was honestly I was down to £225 a week until I left. I left. Yeah,
that's
should have read the blueprint.
Yeah.
The small print. Sorry, the small print.
Yeah, it's a terrible deal. Terrible deal it was.
Well, yeah, no.
But I guess though, even when that's been presented you that contract, you're probably not even really thinking about the money too much, or were you? Or is it more like, this? I've got my first professional contract. I can imagine there's probably a lot of excitement around that with your friends, your family, and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, was I ever going to be going? No, I'm not having that. Yeah, I was. Whatever they were going to offer, you were going to sign, because it's your first. You're in the youth team. You're playing in the first team. You get offered your first pro. You're like, absolutely. You're never even going to. You're never going to go, no, I'm not going to sign that. It's got to be more than that. You're like, nope, that's straight signing that contract. And it's only when you're like, okay, probably wasn't a great idea to sign that one. But hey,
fair enough.
What's done is done.
That's great, man. That's great.
No, but yeah, like as you said, we fast forwarded there to the relegation time. So what was it like? How did you deal with that? I guess at that age, obviously any team or player that gets relegated is going to feel it. But I remember you mentioned about like the older players, like how their pay would have been affected as well and stuff like that. So how did you deal with the highs and lows, and also how did the team deal with it as well?
Well, it's very difficult. I remember us getting there. We had to win think, away at Nottingham Forest on the last day of the season. And I think we drew the game, and then we got relegated. And I remember the bus journey home, and everyone's just basically on their phone going, "Get me out of here." It was like that. And I remember just being like in a position thinking, I can't believe this. I've never experienced this before. Loads of players all like thinking that's it, done. And then I remember turning up to pre-season, and it was just a whole new squad, a whole new squad. It was just like, wow, that's a big change, big change. Loads of players have left, and you're just sort of in a position. For me, I was thinking, well, yes, we got relegated, but I suppose for me, it's going to be that I'm going to be able to play week in, week out, and show everyone what I can do in League One.
Yeah, definitely a great opportunity to really develop, I guess, as well in that sense. So yeah, we can sort of move a little bit further into that season. By 2006, you're one of the standout players. I did have a little look at the squad, and I'll be honest, you was the most notable name that I saw. We did look for a while, but 2006 standout player for Gillingham. The club offers you like a record deal for your age. What was the decision to sort of turn it down?
Because it was never. They knew I wasn't going to be signing anything. And, it was just one of them that. It was one, at the time where I was under 24, so you can't go on a free. So I think they were just trying to get as much money as possible, which is completely fair enough.
Yeah.
But if I signed that contract, they would have been like, what? But it wasn't even.
Mad,
it wasn't even. It wasn't even that. Everyone's thinking it was a huge deal. It wasn't. It was just saying no one's been offered that contract at their age. But even still, it was nice to be offered it because they wanted me to stay. But I knew I wasn't, and they knew I wasn't, and that's ultimately why. But they got a really good deal out of it anyway in the end, and so did I. Got to go and play at Wolves with Mick McCarthy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, Mick McCarthy is a name that rings from my childhood anyway, for sure.
Definitely.
Just quickly, just before you obviously I know you end up at Wolves, but what other clubs were interested in you at that point? Like, how did that go about? Did you just get presented to you and say these guys? How does it work?
Yeah, well, so I'd actually changed agents by then, and I sort of, again, I'd never been in this situation before, so you're relying heavily on your agent, and so he's telling me there's this club's interested, this and this. So I had a few options, and it was only when I remember, and it is a great story, but I remember I was actually booked a boys' holiday with my mates from back home, and we were going to go to Marbella, believe it or not, and. So we were all booked, ready to go, and then I get a call. I think it was the day of. I was ready to go to the airport. I get a call to say Mick McCarthy wants to meet you over in Portugal. He's on holiday, but he wants you to go over and meet him. And I was like, "Ooh, okay."
Yeah.
So I was like, "Right, I can't go. I'm going to Portugal to meet Mick McCarthy." And then I got a flight over there. Went and met him. I sat with him for a couple of hours, chatted about why he wanted me to come to the club, what he was going to do at the club, asked me if I had any questions. And to be honest, as soon as I met him, as soon as I spoke to him, there was nowhere else I was going to go. He's still, he's still the best manager I've had. Absolutely brilliant guy. Staff that he's got around him. It's not just him; it was the team that he had. And the biggest compliment I could give him was he was honest, and he told you everything. Good, bad, indifferent. He would tell you, and there was no better feeling. And then coming back from that, going up to see Molineux, getting shown around that, and then signing my deal and flying from Wolverhampton to Birmingham to Marbella and meeting my mates.
Yeah. So
I bet that's...
So from, let's say, the first point of interest, let's say your contact, when you first heard Mick McCarthy or Wolves were interested, from that point to deal done, how long would that have taken at that point?
Probably about a week, maybe a bit longer. I knew of the interest before, but actually from when I actually met him, it was less, like a few days, 3 or 4, max. But before that, you'd obviously know there was quite a few clubs, and I wasn't really involved in that part of it, really, I suppose, until it got to the point where we were like talking and talking about what was going to go on. So yeah, it was in the end it felt really long for a long period of time, and then it all happened quite quickly.
Must have been extremely exciting as well, just to see another name, another team where you just everyone in the country should know about them. And for you, you're probably looking at it as, where is my career about to go now?
Yeah. Well, I didn't know any of the players personally at all, none of them. So I was going into a whole new squad, not knowing anyone really personally. So it was like first day back at school type of thing, where you're walking in, you're like, it's like...
yeah. But again, it does speak to your work ethic as well, and your ambition, where that didn't phase you at all. You could have, maybe gone to somewhere more familiar, I assume, and
more local.
More local, absolutely. But you've obviously gone straight into the deep end and said, "Yeah, bring on."
Yeah, it's like good 3 and a bit hours from me. So it wasn't that I could drive home after training and that. It was a full move. But yeah, absolutely, I got the opportunity to go. That was and as I said, Mick was a huge influence in that decision. And it was a fantastic decision in the end.
Absolutely, yeah. No,
this is just a burning question for me then. Just based on that, I mean, because you hear it all the time, players saying, "Yeah, spoke to the manager," and from then it was no other option or whatnot. Is that for professional players? Is that something that really is a driving force, the manager, and that first conversation that you have? The ideas that they have and the vision is you basically have to buy into it. Is that true? In more cases than not.
Yeah, I mean, definitely for me, it's hard though, because you're talking to I was 19, 20 at that point.
Yeah.
So I'm still young. I don't know everything about it. I've only haven't experienced loads in that. Although I've had quite a few different managers, different players in leagues, but you don't really not to that level. So for me, the manager had a huge impact. But the thing is now is, you can speak to the manager and he sells you the dream, and then he's gone within 2 weeks, of you getting there. And it's just like, you just don't know these days. Whereas back then I was like, Mick's, that's who I want to go and play for. That's where I can see the vision of what he's trying to do. He's bringing lots of young players, hungry, not really made it at the top level yet, all wanting to improve, all wanting to get that work ethic, that togetherness. And we all did. We all just bought into it.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's I mean, like you said, another door, opportunities just keep opening at that point, I guess. And then to go from Gillingham to Wolves is like a step up in itself in terms of club stature, I guess. But when you get there in 2007, I see that you got hit with some injuries. How big were those injuries at that point, especially as you've just signed? I'm assuming you signed during the pre-season period. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was. I signed in the off season, so like in the summer. So I come pre-season ready to prove everyone that I was not that they I'd played in the championship, but I was like, no one really knew me to a degree. So I was ready to prove to everyone what I was about, and I got injured in the first sort of week of pre-season really, and I was out for about 3 months. It was awful.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Just when you get to a club and you just wanted to impress and you want to hit the ground running, and then bang, injury. But again, I speak about him, Mick McCarthy, but he was so good in that the interaction. He's come straight to me. He was like, "Look, don't worry about it at all." He said when I got my move to Celtic, I got injured. I missed the first 4 months of the season. Just make sure you don't rush back. Make sure you're right, and when you come back, then you're ready to go. Like, just don't worry about it. I understand the pressures and everything, but don't worry about it. Just get yourself right. And as a player that's just signed there, you're thinking, but then after that, hearing and speaking to the manager, like, obviously you're still disappointed. But you're like, wow, that's that man management is top. And then I'm chomping at the bit then to get myself back fit and to get back in and play.
Yeah. Was there ever sort of an urge to try and rush yourself back quicker than you should have been coming back, or
100%? Yeah, every single day. Yeah. 100%.
Trying to roll out the hospital bed.
Yeah, absolutely. You're trying everything. Oh, because within football, the physios and everyone knows an injury, and they have a timeline. They know where you should be along these times. Like, so you're saying, if I can nick a day there, then I could probably be back, maybe a week earlier than before. So you're always trying to shave a few days off, or maybe a week off if it's a longer term. So it's not a good idea, to be honest, but it's just what happens. You're just desperate to you pinpoint a game. You're like, right, I need to be back for that game. That's going to be my timeline. I need to be back for that game. And then as it gets closer, you're like, I need to actually step it up a bit because I'm not making that game.
Yeah.
You start chasing.
No, for sure. So once you become fit after the injury, you become a regular. What clicked? Like, what made you sort of embrace the fact that you're playing for Wolves, and how did you appeal to the fans and vice versa? What was it like?
We were just, it was just suited the way that I think everyone played, but for me, it was brilliant. I was a wide player, I got old school winger in get wide, get crosses in the box. And we were 4-4-2. We had two big strikers, and we literally did. We were like, well, if we went 1-0 down, we're like, that's fine. We're going to score, so no problem. And we maybe should have kept a few more clean sheets, but we were just ready to open teams up, get wide, get crosses in the box, score goals, and it worked. We gelled. And it was a pleasure to be a part of that squad and that team, because it was really enjoyable playing in that team.
Definitely.
And just backtracking a little bit there, obviously your debut goal for your debut against Charlton, I believe it was.
Well, see, I should know these things. But,
well, okay. From what we heard, it was your debut against Charlton. You came on as a sub. Obviously, you probably played hundreds of games since then, so it might be a distant memory now. But do you have any sort of memories from around that time, that your debut and when you first started breaking into the Wolves team, the first team?
Yeah, I do. I don't necessarily remember the feeling of my debut, if I'm completely honest with you. But I remember that sort of period of getting into the team, getting back fit, and just being so determined to get in the team, because there was some top players there, but to want to get in the team and to stay in the team. And actually, one of my biggest things was to prove to everyone that I should be there, and that's including fans. That was including loads of different people, teammates, even really,
probably even yourself.
Well, 100%, yeah. I mean, everyone thinks that players are full of confidence and nothing shatters them and nothing happens. Yes, it does. An injury, first in, your confidence is low. You're then second guessing everything that you do, because you're wanting to impress. You're wanting to do well. So yeah, it was a tough but a very enjoyable time to sort of get myself in, do well, keep working, and we were really a good, fun team to play for as well. Whether that's on the pitch or away from the pitch. We're all very similar age. It was a good time to be playing in that team.
Yeah, no. Just back to, you said you played the 4-4-2. I just want to quickly ask, who played up front at that time? Who was you?
Sylvan. So our strikers were Sylvan Ebanks Blake. Remember him?
Of course.
Championship goal scored, Golden Boot for a few seasons.
Of course.
We had Andy Keogh, we had Sam Boakes, we had Chris Uelamo.
Okay.
Remember Chris?
Yeah, I remember the names. Yeah. Sure.
So them boys used to, it was ridiculous. Yeah, and we played with the two, so it was always like they always made subs. So there was always two strikers on the bench, and two strikers pretty much always came on. So it was just relentless. But yeah, that was. Sylvan was ridiculous in that time, in that championship. I mean, you used to just scream at you just to give him the ball. He used to get the ball into his feet. He'd use his body back in and just turn. And it was just, I don't know, it was like a snapshot. Like he didn't have any backlift. It was just bang. And it was through people's legs. It was round corners. Like it was just anything goes in that box. He just used to always get the shot off, and then more often than not, it went in.
Yeah. So yeah, following into that season then. Oh, go on, Trey. Sorry, mate. Go on.
No, carry on.
No, yeah. So following into that season, you just missed the playoffs. I think it was on goal difference, I believe, -2 goal difference. I guess the team would have looked at that as a failure. But how did they handle that? Because obviously the next season you then win promotion. So how did the bounce back come from that, and what was the vibe like?
I think we knew in pre-season. We'd had a really good camp. I think we signed a few more players. I can't remember if Chris Uelemo signed in that transfer window. I think it might have been him and Sam Folks that signed in that transfer window. I think I could be wrong with that, but they signed. So we had good additions to the squad. I think we had a really good pre-season. I think the players knew that we were in good shape, and then once the season started, we started well. And I think I can pinpoint a game when we played Forest at home, and I think we won 5-1. And that after that game, we were like, I think we've got a massive chance here.
Yeah.
No, not that it's done.
Oh, no, I said it's on. Sorry, it's on. No, it's on.
It's on. Okay, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think we were like, we've got a real good chance here. And I think that was where momentum just keeps going.
Yeah. And I guess that it really is the important part, is that start as you mean to go on, get those results right at the start, and like I said, the momentum then can carry. Obviously the football isn't the biggest part of it, but the momentum, even if you're behind in a game or you're drawing, it's that momentum to really push on and keep applying pressure to get those winners, or get the result at the end of it. So yeah, how much of an impact would you say that had on the game is the momentum side of things and the feeling around the camp?
Yeah, I think as I said, if we went 1-0 down, I think we knew that we'd have chances. We knew we'd score goals, so we never panicked at that point. And the thing is, in the Championship, it's relentless. It's Saturday, Tuesday. So we knew if we had not a great result or we lost, we knew we had another game straight away, and we would go and try and get that result, and then we would. As you say, momentum is huge in a Championship. Yep. It's all about just picking up results, picking up draws, wins. If you lost and you win, it's better than having a draw in between. Yeah. You're picking up more points. So it was very much just trying to keep that momentum and to. You want to stay unbeaten, but we wanted to win every game, and we felt we could.
Yeah. Oh. Absolutely.
And what was the intensity like of the Championship back then? I don't know about you, Prince, but I remember Match of the Day finishes, Football League show comes on, and the speed of the football looked quick. Like they say the Premier League's a fairly quick league, but the Football League and Championship League Ones, it just seems high intensity majority of the game. What was it like, obviously playing in it?
Absolutely, you've hit the nail on the head with that. I say that's what I always say when people say, "What was the difference between the Premier League and the Championship?" And I'm just like, the difference in the Championship, you have less time on the ball. Like it's relentless, it's fast, it's that. But in my position as a wide player, it was easier to do something with the ball. You had less time, but it was easier to nip past someone or to cut inside or do something. Whereas in the Premier League, you had more time on the ball. They would not let you have it, but you would have that respect, I suppose, that they'd pass it, and then you could maybe get the ball and turn, and then I'd face up my fullback, and then I'd go, okay, I'll cut inside, have a shot, and then they would block that, and then I'd go, okay, well, I'll just go down the line, and they'd be like, well, I've got that as well. Yeah. Like, this is like the intensity was still high, but you just get a little bit more time on the ball, whereas the Championship is relentless. It's 90 minutes of people just sprinting and knocking the ball over the top, and then someone's up, and then you're trying to get the ball and they're straight through the back of you, and it's just it is relentless. But that's the good fun.
And I guess there is no right or wrong answer to this. So purely from your perspective, why is it so quick? Or I think it's still that way today. Obviously we're talking quite a while ago now, but I think it's still that way today. Like, what in your opinion makes it that way? Is it the coaching, or what?
I think nowadays it's slightly different because now teams are a bit more trying to be like the Premier League size and dominate possession and keep the ball and go wide. Whereas before it was literally, we get the ball, we're going to turn it into your half, we're going to try and win the ball back, and we're going to go and score. Whereas now teams are trying to hold on to the ball a bit more, trying to play out from the back, trying to build through the midfield, trying to get it wide or stay down the middle and do cutbacks or however you wanted to play. Whereas before in the Championship, it was just intense. Right, we're playing your end, and we're just going to hunt everything down, and we're going to try and win the ball back, and we're just going to press. And that's why the intensity was so high.
Absolutely, no, yeah. And you played a pivotal role in that season. You got 3 goals, 10 assists. I mean, you spoke about the strikers already. I guess it was easy to provide assists. You probably could have had way more, I guess, in that regards. But how did it feel to play such
I'll speak to the strikers about that.
Well, yeah. So
you send over the phone numbers. We'll get
them that's it. Line it up and we're there. How did it feel to be like such a pivotal role of that? And obviously now you're one step closer to the dream.
Yeah, huge. I mean, that's the whole point of playing. That's what I want to do. My whole philosophy, my place in the team was to get the fans off their seats, to create opportunities for players to score, to try and score myself, but to be an outlet for the team, and to attack, and to never, I'd never wanted to. Maybe I did a few times, but I never wanted to not take my fullback on.
Yeah.
That was just, nowadays it's very different. Players are like not more worried, but they have to keep the ball. If they don't think they're going to do it, or if players aren't in the box, maybe you keep the ball and go out the other side. Whereas no, it wasn't like that. You take them on. If I put a cross in and the strikers weren't there, well, it probably wasn't from me. It would probably be from someone else. But I would be putting the balls in, and then if they weren't in the box, the manager would go nuts.
Okay. I guess that's how football has changed over the years. Like I said, I think, again, we're just looking at it from the outside, watching on TV, and it does seem a lot more safe, especially, again, we're watching Premier League football, and the teams at the top half of the table are playing a lot more of a safer brand of football as opposed to, what we saw back then in the Championship. And like I said, the football leagues where, like I said, it's just end to end, 90 minutes, full steam, just go. Very, very interesting. And I mean, that's a question for you is, how does it feel watching the way, seeing the way the game has changed over the years? Do you look at it from a different sort of perspective to, let's say, that the average fan, or,
Yeah, I would definitely say so, because you can just see, there's just moments in game that you can notice what players are doing and how they're doing it and why they're doing it. And I suppose the normal fan, I'd just like, what are they doing? Why are they doing that? But you can sort of go, okay, I actually see, I know why he's doing that. It could be something silly like, I don't know, a corner, a set piece, and what they're doing and why they're doing it. And then you see like a midfielder, why is he doing that? Why is he not passing it to that guy? Why is he keep going down that side? Or why is he, the way that he's turned and received the ball? Why has he done that? But actually they'd have worked, or they know, you get a feeling and you just understand why they've done it. So I do definitely look at the game, and I sort of just try and work out really what's going on. Why are they doing that? Why is the team playing that way? Or why is that winger doing that? I definitely focus more on the wide players, just because it's just, it's hard not to.
Easier to compare yourself. Of course.
But it's very different now. Like as I said, that's why I was an old school winger. Get wide, get across in the box, take players on, and it's very different nowadays. Wingers don't do that anymore.
That was in the days where a right-footed player played on the right and a left-footed player played on the left. Obviously nowadays it's all inverted. You've got right back playing left back now, so it's I think a lot different game.
I think if you ask a lot of strikers that played when I was playing, they would hate it now because the crosses don't come in the box, and like they, and if they do, it's like it's the ones they come into and everything's sort of going the other way. Whereas you just want, like, if you speak to Andy Carroll, if he wanted me to whip balls in like that, he would no, just hang it up, get to the byline, hang it up, and then I'll just come and steamroll people, and like a battering ram, and come and smash into people. That's what he wanted.
No, definitely, yeah. So promotions happen now. You made it to the Prem. I can imagine the celebrations at that point are mental as well. I could probably talk a lot about that as well. But yeah, you get into the Prem now. It's your pre-season. You're ready for the start of the season. What's the feeling like?
For me, excitement. I can't wait. Yes, there's loads of we need to stay up, we need to do this, we need to do that. But for me, just pure excitement. I can't wait. This is, this is what I've been working for. But there's the transfer window's open. There's players coming in, and you're like, best not be coming in my position.
Yeah,
I need to be playing here. But that's every single transfer window that happens. You're like, yeah, we need players in, but don't be signing a left winger. I don't need a left winger.
absolutely.
But yeah, I can't wait. And I think it was quite early on. I can't remember what game. It feels to me like it was like the second game, but it probably wasn't. But we played Man City away. And that was a big I'm standing up, and they just signed Robinho. Remember Robinho?
That's when the
of
shift.
course.
They just signed him.
This is when the shift.
Twinkle toes.
Yeah.
Looking down at in the tunnel, and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
So
big names.
That's when you start. Yeah, when you start going, okay. But for me, I relished it. I loved playing that was Zabaleta. I think it was there at that time. Playing against him. Prime Zabaleta just joined.
Zabaleta.
You're thinking, oh, here we go. Great times, absolutely brilliant. We got humbled. I think not humbled, but that was more of a realization that actually the Premier League's no joke. We played Chelsea away. We played Chelsea away at Stamford Bridge, and I think we got pumped 4-0.
Yeah.
And you had Juan Mata. You had William. I think it was odd. I can't remember who Oscar was playing. You had Essien, and oh my god, you just couldn't get near them. They were just bop, 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 and you were hunting around you just couldn't get near anyone.
Yeah,
and that was like, wow, this was a team, and you're like, wow, we're gonna have to step it up here. They were ridiculous. And I only ever played right wing a couple of times in my career, and that was because Ashley Cole was running the other way, and I had to chase him back, and that's not fun. He's probably the best fullback that's ever played in the Premier League, in my opinion.
Yeah,
left back.
No, I think
Prince will love that one.
Yeah, I'm Chelsea, so for me, even to hear you reminisce about how he's bopping about, to see the difference now.
You should have told me that earlier. I would have said another two.
No, I'll take that all day, especially with the current performances of us right now. I mean, we're feeling for the weekend, so I'm happy about that.
It is mad though, honestly. Everyone says who's the best fullback that you played against, and I literally played 99.9% of my career on the left wing, and I played against Zabaleta, Kyle Walker, Gary Neville, Valencia, Glenn Johnson, Ivanovic at Chelsea. You can name whoever. But Ashley Cole, by far.
I think a lot of people would agree with that Ashley Cole statement, really. But I feel in a way that he's not maybe spoken about or held high enough in maybe fans' repertoire of how good he actually was. But I can remember growing up watching him thinking, wow, this guy's unreal. I know, Trey, you're Arsenal, so I know you're not happy with that.
Up to a certain point, and then he decided, but I mean, just sort of going back, obviously, in that season, your first game was actually against your future club, Westham. I don't think it was the best start.
Yeah, we lost.
You remember that one, yeah. So,
yeah.
How did that feel? Obviously, I can imagine the excitement going into the game was probably, sky high, and then by the end of the game, it's probably a different kind of feeling. What was that like for you and the rest of the team?
Yeah, definitely before the game, everyone's hyped, everyone's ready to roll. And I think Nobe scored, actually. I think it was 1-0, Nobe scored. And I think it was I suppose like a reality check to be like, we actually, we get punished. In the Championship, you probably get like 10 shots at your goal. You maybe get one that will go in. Whereas in the Premier League, you'll have 2 shots, one's in, definitely. So it was like, it was a bit of a wake up call to be like, well, when we get a chance, we need to take it. And if they've got a chance, we need to do everything to stop it. Yep. So I enjoyed the game to a degree because, I played well. It was my first time playing in the Premier League, but at the same time, it's nothing like defeat, because you start realizing, well, that's another game. That's a game gone. We need to pick up points. We need to stay in the league.
Sure.
No, definitely, yeah. So,
and
go on, Trey, go on.
No, I was just going to ask. So, after that game, how did it change the way you guys prepared for your upcoming games? Because obviously now you're thinking, or I'd assume you're thinking, the margins are very slim. Like you said, you lose the ball, that could be a goal in your net, the ball in your net. Sorry. So how did that change the way you prepared, or did it, or was it stick to the plan that was set out at the beginning of the season? How did you decide to go on from there as a team?
Yeah, well, I think Mick and Terry Connor, they were on the training pitch every day working, and I've got nothing but love for Terry Connor. He was brilliant with me. I had Tony Daly as the fitness coach as well. Remember him? Winger, Villa, England. What a player. So it was a great team around. And it's just trying to stay focused on us and how we were going to play. Because we weren't we weren't privileged to be in a bit where could just basically do what we wanted. We had to adapt to the other teams for like one formation or the tactics that they played. So we had to sort of not change for every game. That's not what I mean, but like adapt to certain teams for certain reasons.
Yeah.
So we were very well drilled on the training field going into a game to know what we were going to do with their weaknesses, what their strengths were, what we would try and stop. So I wouldn't say anything changed to a degree. It would just be more of a, right, well, we're going to have to make sure that when we get that opportunity, we need to take it, and we just need to make sure that we try and keep the shots on the goal as minimum as possible.
Yeah, definitely.
Makes sense.
Set pieces as well were huge. For us as a team that maybe wasn't going to create as many chances as the other teams because of possession and everything. When we got an opportunity from a set play, we knew we had to try and take that.
Well, apparently it's gone full circle. We're back there now.
Long throwing.
I know. Have you heard from Sam Allardyce?
You guys paved the way for the game today.
I know. Sam Allardyce is losing it in a minute. He's thinking, I told you.
That's very true. So So first Prem season's gone by. You performed pretty well over your 3 seasons in the Prem with Wolves, but I guess the first season stayed up pretty well. The second season was relatively more closer to relegation, and the third season was the relegation year. Could you see the decline? Because obviously, as you spoke about Robinho going to Man City, teams were really elevating. So could you feel or sense that, this is getting tougher and tougher and things like that?
No. I expected us to stay up all 3 seasons, to be honest. I think we had the squad, we had the games that, not that you pinpoint, but we had the games that you'll be like, right, we can pick up points here. And I the last seasons are just it's a difficult one because I feel like if Mick stayed in charge, we would have, him and TC were a brilliant duo, and I think we would have had I think we would have had an opportunity to have stayed up as well. And to be fair, that's no disrespect for TC because I actually the last 13 games I think I scored 6 or 7 goals. So he brought out fantastic for stuff for me. So personally, but I just feel like it wasn't a decline. I don't think. I feel like there were certain moments in certain games and results that really took their toll on us. And it's difficult, and I understand why they decided that it was time with Mick because it was an awful result. We played against West Brom, and it's against your rivals, and you lose, and something's got to be done about it. So I understand it all, but I just feel like we would have been. It would have been a little bit closer.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's similar to the momentum when you win games. If you lose a game, for the next couple of weeks, you might feel it. And if you lose more than one on the bounce, it carries over. So, it might not
it's
be
a
about the
mentality
performance.
shift.
Yeah, exactly. For sure.
Yeah, because you could, if you've gone 3 or 4 games without a win and then you concede again and you're like, oh, here we go. It's not like, when we're in the Championship, we conceded and it'd be like, it's all right, we're going to score. It was, we haven't scored the last 2 games. We've just conceded again. How are we going to get out of this? So it is more of a mentality shift, and that's where that is funny enough is that's where like sports science and everything comes into play. Psychologists and everything that's coming into the game to try and get that mental side of things.
Yeah. I mean, just touching on that, was that not very prominent during that time for yourselves? Did you have sports therapists, psychologists around the club, or was that something you just had to sort of bounce back from and deal with?
Yeah, so I never really had it until it was the season we got promoted to the Prem with Wolves, and we had a guy come in called Bill who come in when we were on we were on a run where we didn't really I think we not when he first come but during that run I think we were top of the league and we hadn't won in 13 games and we were like, what is going on? So yeah, he come in, but it was very different then because no one really wanted to use it. I think
Sure.
it's quite a big difference to now. If you had the same thing coming into a change room now, you get a very different response to what you got when it was back then. But it was a few of us that really bought into it, and for me it was like a no-brainer. If this was going to help me by 1%, I don't know why I wouldn't do it. If it didn't help me, then I've not lost anything. But if it did, then amazing. So. Yeah, so that's when it first sort of come in, and then each year I suppose you get more and more used to it, or you get better at using the strategies and the techniques and stuff, and you just sort of slowly build it into your own routine.
Yeah, definitely.
And so, do you think it helped you develop sort of new ways to actually, or would you say you took your mental health a little bit more seriously by going through these sort of periods, the down periods, let's say?
Yeah, I mean, I do believe like everything happens for a reason. There's so much stuff that goes on. If I didn't do that, I wouldn't do that. Like what? If a very short story. When I was at Gillingham, I had a hernia, and the manager at the time was Stan Turnant and Ronnie Jepson, and they cancelled my operation 3 times. They wouldn't let me have my op because I was playing week in, week out, and I was doing really well. So but I was an 18-year-old boy, and I couldn't train Monday to Friday. I was just playing in the games on a Saturday. And it's ridiculous. But at that point, my last game before I had my op, I came off after about 70 minutes. But my last game I played against Sunderland at the Stadium of Light, and I played really well, ripped up the right back. And who was the manager of Sunderland? Mick McCarthy.
Full circle.
And how did I get my move to? It's because he remembers that game that I tore it up, and then he followed me from then on in, and then I signed at Wolves. So if I had my operation, I wouldn't have played it that game.
That's true.
And then I might not have got the Wolves to West Ham. So it's just it's what you make of it, really.
And that's the thing. It may not have worked out that way for another person. That's how it worked out for you. Wow, that's insane. For another full circle moment. It seems you had a lot of them throughout your career.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. You'll come to it, but I had the other end as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But yeah, no, definitely. So yeah, obviously relegation has come now. You've had a good for you 3 seasons there. Interest is probably quite high in you. What was the decision, and where do you think the attention come? Obviously, I know you said the way of football then was that winger that can get down the line and put balls in the box. And if I remember rightly, West Ham then they would definitely have took that up for what they could. So yeah, how did the West Ham move come about and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, obviously for me, I just played for England at that point. So it was like I if I was going to have an opportunity to stay in the England team, I had to be in the Premier League. I couldn't be in the Championship. And in that season, it's my best scoring record. I was flying. I scored 6, 7 in the last 13 games.
Yeah.
I put the most crosses in Europe, most successful crosses in Europe that season. So I was playing well. So effectively, I wanted to stay in the Premier League. The opportunity that came up was with West Ham. There was a couple of other interests, but West Ham were the ones that paid the price, I suppose.
Yeah.
And they got promoted via the playoffs. And then, I got my opportunity to go to West Ham, and it was a club record signing at the time. Yeah. So that came with a lot of pressure, especially signing, a club. I don't think you realise how big a club is until you actually go there. Because I knew West Ham was a huge club, and it's London, it's this but when you actually go there, it's silly things like, when as a player, you have to do press and you have to do like certain other things. But when I was at Wolves, you did press and you did like you go to do all the stuff in the community, and you do all the signing sessions and do everything like that. But then when I went to West Ham, it's like it's magnified. Like there's so many more news reporters. There's so many more things you have to do within the community. There's so many more signing sessions. There's so many more things that just magnified. So it was, it was a another step up really for me to sort of go in that area.
Yeah, and sorry, as you mentioned, you did at the back end of the Wolves part, you got your call up to England. I thought I quickly moved on from that too quick, but when you got that call up, you're at Wolves. Where was you when you first heard that and you get that call?
Oh, it's amazing. So we played Aston Villa away on the early kickoff on the Saturday. We won 1-0. I scored a volley. We'd not Wolves hadn't beaten Villa Park in about 20 years or something. So we won. Huge result for us. Big win.
Insane.
Obviously, I was delighted. Scored. The Sunday night, I went back home because it was the early kickoff. So I've gone down the road back down south, and then Sunday night I drove back up to the Midlands to get ready for Monday. So I get back into the kitchen about, I don't know, I can't remember, 6 o'clock, maybe slightly late, I don't know, 6 o'clock. And then I get into the kitchen and I get a text message on my phone. And it's like from the FA saying you've been called up for England. And I'm like,
wow,
not sure. Like, I've heard stories of people back getting messages, and I was like, well, I don't know. And then like within a minute, I've got a call. Someone saying from the FA, look, you have been called up for England. This is this. You're going to get picked up tomorrow. You need this, and this. And I was just like, and they were like, oh, and you've probably got about, I don't know, half an hour before it gets announced on Sky Sports News or whatever. So then I'm just like, this is unbelievable. I've just got through the door with my wife. I don't know if she was my wife then. I think she probably was. And then just like it's just incredible. And then you're like phoning around, trying to phone like my mum and dad, my brother, and just madness, absolute madness, amazing,
insane.
Oh yeah, so sorry, I thought Trey was going to come with a question there. My bad, but so you get the news. Family must be ecstatic from the journey of like taking you here, there, and everywhere to now hear that you've actually going to represent your country. Must have been amazing for them as well.
I mean, super proud. Just they've seen the journey that you've gone on. I never played in any of the England under 16, 17, 18, 21s, nothing. And then built myself up like Championship, League One, built myself back up and got to the Prem, and now getting to play for my country is just it's as you mentioned earlier, it's the pinnacle. It's what everyone dreams as a kid to go out and represent their country, and I was able to live that dream.
Absolutely. And I think what I take off that is the discipline that you mentioned earlier on. Like, it just sort of shows if you put in the work and you do work as hard as you say, it can come. And even the way you said you moved from League One Championship up, like, that moment coming must have just been like a crazy feeling. So you walk into the camp, or you get picked up, as you said. You walk into the camp. Obviously, now you're alongside the people that you've just been performing against in the Prem and stuff like that. What's camp like for England at that stage?
Oh, well, Fabio Capello's the manager.
Heard some stories.
Crazy, but he, like, to be honest, I get told from the lads that were there, like that was more towards the end of his tenure, so he'd mellowed a little bit in a few of the things that he was previously like, but he didn't speak much English. So like he basically, when I first got to the hotel, he was sort of there, and he was like, he goes, "Are you pleased to be here?" I was like, "Yeah, obviously, this is amazing." And he went, he said, "Oh, that goal you scored, that got you in." He said, "You were close, but that goal got you in." And I was like, "Wow, okay."
That's quite, speaking about the goal against Villa?
Yeah. He said that goal against Villa, that one got you in. I was like, wow, because I'd been in the preliminary squad the last couple. But I didn't make the actual squad. So he was like, "Yeah, you were close, but that one got you in." And you're just like, wow. And then, you go in, and it was when John Terry was reinstated as captain. Yeah. You had Rooney, like the only player that wasn't there that was sort of that thing was Gerrard. He was injured, but you had Lampard. It was just top camp. But I didn't really know anyone like personally. Again, so it was really like it's same repeating itself about a first day back at school. Don't know where to sit on the bus. Don't know where to sit for dinner. You just sit down, and everyone's sort of been there before. So, or if they hadn't, it was teammates from their club. They're all like top 6 teams. So it was. But they were brilliant. They were brilliant with me.
And how long was that camp for? Again, if you could remind us.
It's about 2 weeks, just under 2 weeks. Yeah.
And did you find there was any particular player or players that you sort of hooked up with, I guess, linked up with, that who were your closest friends in during that period?
Well, I mean, to be fair, as I said, they're all very, very good with me. I think like Carl Walker was. I think he was probably the one I sat next to on the first day in the like dining room, effectively. And obviously I'd played against him quite a few times, literally directly against him. Yeah. So but then as I mentioned, there was so many top players there that it was good, and there was like a communal area where there was a like, table tennis table, and there was a few other bits and pieces. So and for me, it was, you roomed on your own as well. So like you sort of wanted to go and interact and be in there. So, and I just wanted the training to start. You just want to get into your comfort zone where you're just on the pitch. But I was thinking if I went into the middle of the rondo, I might not get out. But it was all right.
Yeah, I can imagine. During them training sessions, I know like there's a sort of a stigma around international football that when you go there, it's relaxed, no one cares. But who would you say was the best player that you trained with or you saw training? Who was like someone that you thought, wow, unbelievable?
To be honest, there was a lot.
Yeah,
they really were. There were, Rooney was exceptional. Actually, Ashley Cole was there. Terry, Lampard. Just thinking when you're going around, you're looking, and you're just like, just the way that they manipulate the ball, or the way that they, they're just so comfortable in certain positions. And I remember, I always sort of mention it, but just on the shooting drills, I remember just looking and thinking like Darren Bent hadn't missed a target. Every single shot was like whips into the corner, or not necessarily scored every single one, but didn't miss the target. And I was like, oh wow, like that's cool. Don't get me wrong, there was Rooney was smashing them in, and there was Defoe, Crouch. There was some top players, but it was just certain things you just were like, oh okay, that was decent.
No, absolutely. No, so training's done. You're making your official debut against Ghana at Wembley. Obviously, playing at Wembley is a massive thing anyway. But take us through that moment when you know that you're coming on the pitch, like to play in this game.
Yeah. I remember warming up and just being down near the corner and just sort of looking back and just waiting for like and I just remember, I can still remember it now. Like there was that, and I was like, me, and they were like, yeah. And I just sprinted back to the dugout. His shirt was off, like ready to go. I'd already had my pads on. Everything was ready to roll. And then, just then getting handed like this is where you are from this and this set pieces, and just sort of being like trying to and then just being like on the side of the pitch, just like kick the ball out, let me get on the pitch. And then I like just remember sort of standing there, just being like, right. Don't look nervous, because the camera is going to be on you. It's your debut. You think like just sort of stand there, just like be like, right, don't look nervous. And then I just remember like Jack Wiltshire come off. So I was like, high five, got on the pitch, and then I just remember going, "You've done it. Like no one can take this away from you. You've played for your country. Like that's it. Like no one can do that." And then it was good. I got a good early first touch, and then got another touch, and then you sort of. I know it sounds so like silly or corny or whatever, but then you're just sort of into the game, and you're doing what you do every single day. You're just playing in a match. So I got the good early few touches, and then you're like, right, okay, I feel a lot more comfortable now. I'm in the game. I'm ready to go.
Sort of putting the occasion to the side and just playing your game at that point. Sort of just you're in it now.
A little bit. Although I played on the right wing the whole time, so it was like, I've managed to get all the way playing 99.9% of the games playing left wing, and then I come on right wing. I was like, no problem. That's fine. I'll play wherever. But yeah, that was good. I managed to get a few good crosses in, a few set pieces, amazing, absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and even with that, like obviously you've experienced the setup now and stuff. Did this give you sort of like another newfound confidence? Obviously, you went from Championship to Prem. You get that level of confidence. You perform well at Wolves. You get the call up. Are you now like, wow, like I'm ready to just keep cracking on and do more? Or
but again, I speak about Mick McCarthy, but when I come back and he was like, right, congratulations, presented me with my actual England cap, and and he was like, right, now you're not Matt Jarvis, you're England international Matt Jarvis. Now you need to step up every single game because someone else is going to be going, right, I'm not letting him get past me now. And he was right, and it was like, oh, actually, yeah, I had to. Don't get me wrong, it was a slight adjustment for me. Because you've got to hold yourself to a higher standard. You've got to perform week in, week out because you're judged, because you're now England international. So, again, way to bring you back down to earth and be like, right, now you need to work even harder. And I had to adapt my game because people were like doubling up, or your fullbacks were playing different against you. So you've got to adapt and change, and either come inside a little bit more, or running behind even more, or try to come short to try and change the way that they're reading you. So big change, but stuff that you wouldn't even really think about. You just be like, oh, he's played for England, like, now carry on. But actually, no, it's completely different mentality for the player that you're playing against, also for yourself.
Trey, you got yeah, no, great. Okay, cool. So looking back.
Yeah, I mean, this is
sorry, apologies.
Am I delayed? Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
you're good. You're back.
No, I mean, it's. I do want to touch on it because it was only the one cap. So is there a level of disappointment that you have had, or you had, not getting that call up again? Was there times where you were, you're hoping that, right, this, get the next one? How does that feel, not getting that? Or
100% is disappointment. And I look at it and I actually think that, not that I deserved it, but I said about, I put the most crosses in Europe, most successful cross in Europe my last season at Wolves, but I actually did exactly the same in my first season at West Ham. So I was playing week in, week out in the Premier League. We finished 10th in the first season, and I was playing really well week in, week out. So yes, there's a level of disappointment, but at the same time, you're looking at the wingers that were there back then at that point. They're all playing top six clubs. They're all playing week in, week out. You had James Milner, Stuart Downing, Theo Walcott, Aaron Lennon. I can't even remember who else was there. There's some top Ashley Young. There's some top players there. They're all playing top level. So yes, I can be disappointed and in my head think, oh, maybe I should have got more. But at the same time, I'm coming up against top players, international players that are playing in the Champions League, and it's a difficult one. But I mean, I would have loved to have had more for sure. My son ridicules me. He goes, his mates say, "Oh, you played for England?" I go, yeah. And he goes, "Yeah, but only once."
If only it wasn't your son.
I know. All right, mate. How many times have you played, mate?
Oh, that's top. That
is insane.
Way to be humbled, isn't it? Way to be humbled.
Definitely, especially by your own as well. You're right, But like you said, so following on, you've had the England experience and you've made that move to West Ham. So I guess you sort of recognised in that sense for that as well. Joining some big notable players at West Ham, actually, when we looked at the squad. Obviously, I remember very well anyway, but Andy Carroll was one of them. Yossi Benayoun was one that we saw on there that I liked, because Yossi Benayoun is someone that just sticks in my mind for just being a serious baller. Joe Cole, obviously Chelsea, I have to cut that word. But talk to me about the level you get to West Ham, you're seeing these names. Like, what's that like?
Oh, well, for me, it was great. Like, really good, very good squad of players. Very, they embraced me straight away. And the best thing for me is, like, when I signed, it was obviously the season'd already started. I played the first couple of games at Wolves, so when I signed, I think I signed on like maybe I signed on the Wednesday or the Thursday, and I trained the next day. I think it was I can't remember. I think I trained on the Friday, and then we travelled and we played Swansea away. And I trained on the Friday and I played on the Saturday, started, and you're just like, it's just thrown in, and it's miles better for me because you're straight into playing, and you work out how like people play and train, and you're just doing it in the game. And Sam made it very easy. Like he was like, right, you've got 3 crosses. This is what I want you to do. You go down the line and you whip it across low. You either go down the line, you cut it back to the 6-yard to the penalty spot, or you go down the line and dink it to the far post. That was your crosses. And if you cut into your right, you just make sure if everyone misses it, it goes in at the far post. So he made it very simple, and everyone knew when I got the ball, they just left me alone, let me take my fullback on, and they knew that a cross was going to come in, or at least I would try and put a cross in. So it was great. It just worked, and players, they knew what they were, what to expect. And I think that was the same when I was at Wolves. Players knew what was going to happen or knew what I would try and do. So they just made their run off it.
And would you say it was quite a big difference in the style of plays from Wolves to West Ham? And if so, or if not, how did you sort of deal with the adaptation?
Yeah, yes, a little bit, but I think we played a similar-ish system. But Sam, as I said, like he liked to break things down to quite. We set pieces were huge. I'd never been anywhere that you'd probably work on it as much, and even not just from like corners and free kicks wide. It would be like free kicks from inside your own half that were like near, not even at the halfway line. We work on that, and you'd be like, right. So you'd pinpoint areas that you would have to work, and then after that, it would just be the right, get it wide and get crosses in the box. That was it. So for me, I had not freedom. That's not what I would say, but like you had like he just said to you, if you put it in the box and the strikers aren't there, you're not getting in trouble. That's the strikers.
Yeah,
and the midfielder and the other winger. Yeah. So
you had your assignment and you just stick to the assignment.
Absolutely. And if there was a cross coming in from the right hand side and I didn't make the far post, boy, I knew about it. That was like he was ruthless on that. But again, I had to adapt my game. I had to have other roles where I'd just never ever done before. From goal kicks. If it was our goal kick, I would have to pin the fullback or the centre half. Andy would go up for the header. And it'd be me and Kev Nolan pinning fullbacks. If it was my side, I'd have to pin fullback or centre half. I'd never done that in my whole life, but I would have to do it. And if I didn't do it, I'd be off the pitch. So you used to have to start adapting and realising, right, okay, this is something else that I've got to try and do and try and improve. So it was, it was good.
Yeah. But I mean, theoretically, having to adapt only means you're improving your game. You're learning to play different styles of football, which I can imagine only benefited you during your time there, and football from there on, to be honest.
Yeah, well, you have to. Every single day you have to train and you have to improve. You can't sit still. You even look at Ronaldo now. He's still playing at, what is he, 40, and he's every single day he's still trying to improve. He's still trying to get better, and that's the mentality.
Okay. Well, I think you did touch on it before. I think your debut was against Swansea, which it was a loss. Again, a lot of excitement probably before that game and coming into it. Didn't get a result you wanted. So how did the team bounce back, and how did you bounce back, and what did that do for you mentally?
To be fair, it was just disappointing with the result. I mean, there wasn't a time that there wasn't like, I was rubbish or whatever. It was just, I made my debut. Result didn't go away. I actually thought I had a decent start. So maybe you're being a bit selfish, but you're like, actually, as a debut, I was happy with my performance. And then you're just like, right, when can we go again? And to be honest, as I said, I only had one training session, so you're just sort of then getting into trying to train.
Yeah. And was there is that sort of a pattern? So regardless of the outcome of the game, whether you won or lost, do you have to look at yourself and say, do you know what, I played a good game, it just wasn't our day, or I played pretty, today, and you need to make sure you're doing better next time? Is that something? Was that a big part of sort of like your routine after games, or?
I think you always know whether you played well or if you didn't. You didn't need any manager to tell you either way.
Tell you for sure.
You knew. But the thing is, now we had Sam was massive on it as well. You had all the running stats. You had all the how many crosses I put in, how many whatever recovery runs, high intensity sprints, all of this. So there was no hiding place. So if you had a good game or a bad game, it was all there to see. So as I said, you knew whether you played well or if you didn't.
Yeah, and I know that you did score your first goal for West Ham. It wasn't too long after the Swansea game. It's against QPR. How did that feel? If you talk us through that one.
Have you seen it? It was a bullet header, and if you haven't, or if you have seen it, then it wasn't quite a bullet header. But
that's just what you're telling the stories, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. But yeah, for me, it's because I think you don't really realise how much of a pressure, like record signing at a club and having that price tag, and people, just the expectation levels are higher. So for me, it was just like another thing to get off my back. I've got my goal, had an assist, so they sort of weren't throwing around at me anymore. So I think that was a big relief for me. Anyway, just personally, just to get my first goal and to be like, well, that's done. No, because otherwise, fans aren't particularly pleased if you're playing and you're not scoring.
Definitely, those West Ham fans, eh?
They sort of let you know either way. That's for sure. Yeah. Very passionate.
For sure, definitely. And you did play under a couple different managers at West Ham. Sam Allardyce, as you mentioned, Slaven Bilic. How did they help you impact your game, or was there negative impacts to changing managers in between? How does that look for you?
Well, no, as I mentioned with Sam, he sort of broke it down so you knew what you had to do in your role in the team, and I had to adapt with other things within set pieces. Slaven only played a short spell with, but I again really enjoyed his training sessions. I really enjoyed his methods. I liked him as a person. I think that the only reason that I sort of left was because that Sam had changed the system in the previous year. He decided not to play with wingers. He tried a diamond in midfield, and so I didn't feature as much as I wanted. And I wasn't going to ever be one of them players that was just going to sit there and not play and just pick up whatever I wanted to play. I couldn't think of anything worse than training all week and not being able to play on the weekend. So I do I regret it? No, not at all. Because as I said, everything happens for a reason, and I went because I wanted to go and play some football, and that was the opportunity that I got to go to Norwich. But I really enjoyed Slaven. I really did. I played all the Europa League games all through the summer, all the qualifying stuff, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, that makes sense. And having said that, so the system changed under Sam Allardyce. How did you have to overcome that? Because obviously now you start questioning your position in the squad, your future. How did you overcome it?
I did the only thing I knew, which was work harder. To be fair, there was I think Joey O'Brien as well was in a similar sort of position as me, and we would just do extra running after games. We'd do extra running after training. I would do extras finishing, crossing, and I actually, I went all in the sense that I was doing all the tests for the intolerance tests. I was doing, so I found out all of the ones that, I'm red stuff that's bad for me, amber and green. And I went through the whole thing, and I got in the best shape, or maybe not the best shape, because everyone was saying I was getting a bit too thin, but I was, I was getting a bit more, not obsessed. Well, maybe obsessed is probably the right word, but I could only control the things that I could. I couldn't control whether he picked wide players or if he did a diamond. So anything that I could control was myself. So I I went hard on. My diet was impeccable. I cut out everything that wasn't good for me. I did extra this, extra that. I just got myself in ridiculous shape, ready that if I had an opportunity to play, then I was ready.
Yeah. And was there any point of that where you were thinking, right, yes, you could break back into the team, but was there any point where you were sort of setting yourself up for, the chance that you might have to depart? You want to be in the best shape, best form for if that happened. Was that in your mind at all?
I would say not in the last season the season that Sam changed it. I was thinking, well, next season I'm just gonna, I'll try and break in, because you never know what's going to happen. I think we were going for a spell where we didn't win, so I was thinking he might change the formation again, and I could be back in.
Sure.
But then when Slaven came in, I didn't really have any intention to leave at that point. I was playing in all of the Europa League games, as I said, playing in all of that. And then I featured in every single game at the start of the season, but I didn't start any. I played the last half an hour, 25 minutes. And, at that point, they'd signed Dimitri Payet, they'd signed Manuel Lanzini. And I was half
some big names.
I was half like, I'm playing in every game or featuring in every game, but at the same time, Slaven didn't want me to go either. He spoke very openly, and we had a good relationship. He was like, "I don't want you to go, but I can understand. I can't tell you you're going to start every game, but as you can see, you featured in every single game."
Yeah,
and I just, in the back of my mind, it just got to. It was the transfer window. It was about 2 hours before the window closed. I got the call, so it was quite last minute. But I had that lingering thought in my mind that I didn't like not playing the season before, and I couldn't sit on the bench the whole season and play bit part. I just wanted to play.
I think we can pick that up from your, what you've told us so far during this call. Your work ethic, I don't think it would allow you to just sit back and, let's say, collect wages, as they like to say nowadays, on the bench. So yeah, it definitely makes sense as to, work hard, and whatever happens after that, at least you've done what you can do to get the best situation for yourself. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, just sort of wrapping up the Westham period, what would you say? What does that period mean to you at Westham for your career?
Huge. I absolutely loved it. As I said, I was club record signing at the club. It was a huge opportunity. I was there 5 years. Huge club. Great time. Finished 10th in the league first season. 13th, 12th, I think, was the first 3 years. Just phenomenal, really. And then, it was a shame. But my initial thing was, so when I went on loan to Norwich, it was just a loan for the season, because I had another year left at West Ham. So there was nothing.
That was in 2015, wasn't it?
Yeah,
2015.
But so it was just like I thought I was just going to go on loan and then come back and then fight for my place the following season. But it just so happens it didn't happen like that.
What spurred you on? Because it was midway through the season that I think it was the January transfer window, I believe, you made it permanent. What spurred you on to make that permanent? What was the real driving force behind that?
Well, I started that season at Norwich. I scored in my debut, scored in my second game, was absolutely flying. As I said, I was in the best shape of my life. I was, I was really in a good place physically. I'd had a full pre-season, played in all these games, so I was flying. So when it got to the January, I'd actually done my medial, so I was out, and I was just coming back. And obviously at that point they were wanting to make. I think they wanted to make one of the loan signings a full, so they could get another player on loan. I think Stephen Naismith was coming in the January, so they wanted to sign me on a permanent. And at that point I had a year left, so I had a year and a half left at West Ham. But then they offered me I think it was a 3.5 year deal, and I was like, well, I've started so well, I was enjoying it. Why would I not?
Makes sense. I mean, you did just touch on it there. I think you had an injury. I think you had a few injuries while you were at Norwich. What did that do to your confidence and your momentum? Obviously, you did start well, and then I think you got a few injuries, which kept you out of football for a little while, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, I really had a great start at Norwich, but unfortunately for me, it wasn't. Yeah, it was an awful experience with injuries. I had 4 operations in 3 years there.
So
Yeah, it was hard. It was very hard.
yeah,
Being in pain all the time, not being able to help the team, having surgeries, picking up all sorts, and I suppose that's the other side that people don't really see and don't want to see.
yeah,
I wasn't there, just as everyone's saying, you were saying, picking up wages and not doing anything. If you would have, I was having fans were hammering me and say, oh, he's injured again, blah, 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 blah. But if they would have come in and done any sort of one day with me and saw what I was doing or what I was going through, I don't think they would have said a thing. But that's unfortunately that's part and parcel of football. You're going to get that, and in my whole life, not football. It was the worst period of my life. I was basically up in Norwich, and my wife. We just had my son. He was just born. She was back down south. I was up there 6 out of 7 days, which was our own decision. We felt it was better. I was able to concentrate on recovery, get myself fit, and she would have a little bit more help with my son. But awful. I couldn't walk without being in pain, and it wasn't getting any better. So it was a real tough period.
Yeah, I do find it interesting what you just said about the fans, this the chance that start coming as a result. You get injured again, and as much as you try and stay away from it, you probably see what people be saying on social media and in the tabloids and whatnot. But I think it sort of goes into that thing where sometimes the football fans and people that aren't in the game don't really see the football players as humans, when it comes to the injury side of things and the not so great side of things. But I guess these sort of interviews would serve as a reminder that you are human at the end of the day. So these things impact you just like it would any other random person getting an injury, a major injury in their career, especially when your sport is your career.
I mean,
it's huge.
Not being able to help your teammates and sitting and doing all your rehab. You're in the gym, which basically looks out over to the training pitch, and you're watching everyone else train, and you're like, can't do anything. And then you're on a match day, you're being there watching everyone, thinking like, I just want to be out there, and you can't. And it's helpless. It's one of them situations that it's just it's not being able to do it, train and try and get yourself better, and it's a hard one. But I think people don't see it because they don't really want to think about it, and then what players put their body through is ridiculous. And I'm not saying it's you should or you shouldn't, but I had probably 50 injections in my career, 4 operations, all of these things. My body's not in a great place, but you do it because you love it and you want to play.
For sure. Was there ever a time where you sort of thought your body is bailing out on you, sort of thing? You're going for a week. Well, I think you said you're 4 surgeries in 3 years.
I think if you would have told me that you were going to have 4 operations in 3 years, I probably wouldn't have been able to go through it.
Wow.
But because you have it, and then you're chasing the next, you're getting yourself back fit, and then you're chasing that one, and then something else happens, and then you're like, big disappointment. But then you build yourself and you chase the next one, you get yourself back fit, and then something else happens. Because you get that close, and you get that sniff of back playing, and you're getting closer, and it's like that joy of getting there, but then it gets taken away again. If you would have told me like at the start that's what it was going to be, I probably wouldn't have done it. But because you're constantly chasing and craving that, being back out on the pitch. And I remember I went on loan to Walsall, and having that first game, we played Bolton away in the cup, and just walking out on the pitch, having that, taking it in, walking out, lining up, standing there, then touching the ball, when the whistle goes, touching it. I got my first assist after about 10 minutes, and you're just like, this is what it's all. Yeah, it's what it's all about.
Definitely.
You know, it's just amazing. But what a very tough period.
Yeah, I mean, fast forwarding through that, it was 2019 that you got your loan move to Walsall. Was that your opportunity to get back to full fitness and gain that confidence again? Obviously, do the thing that you love doing, playing football, but really, get yourself back to a good state. Again, this is not just physically; it is probably mentally at this point. After such a torrid time with injuries.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I was being very selfish because it was just for me. I'd been told by specialists to retire. Norwich had offered me a year's pay up to leave. But I turned it all down because, I wanted to get myself back fit. I wanted to play. I just wanted to play. That's all I've ever wanted to do. I didn't want to sit around. I just wanted to play football. So, so I turned it all down. I dug in and got myself back fit. And then the opportunity to go on loan to Walsall came up. Norwich were top of the league in the Championship at the time. Okay. Daniel Farker was the manager. I had a very good relationship with him. I genuinely wish I was fit because I think I would have played. It really suited his system. But we spoke very openly, and he was like, "Look, I want you to stay. I want you to be around a place. I can't guarantee you're going to play because we're top of the league and the players are playing really well." And he says, as a manager, I want you to stay, but as a person, I think you should just go and get back to playing football and enjoy yourself. Yeah. And just the opportunity to go to Walsall came up. It was like, I think it was Christmas Eve. Well, no, yeah, Christmas Eve. I got asked, and then so I went on loan there. I did 10 games there, I think, and then I hurt my ankle and had to have another operation. But for them, like 10 games, just amazing. Yeah. Just to be back out there and just be selfish. I was being selfish. I put my wife was thinking of me and not being able to walk and. Put my body through that and not missing out on my son growing up. I missed a lot of the first 2 years of his life because I wasn't there. But ultimately, I was being selfish. I just wanted to play. So you put yourself through them positions and sacrifices to go and do it.
Sure. And I mean, just touching on what you said there about the manager being honest. How what did that do for you? Him actually being really honest and just saying, as a human, this is what I think is best for you. How did that feel?
I mean, it's in the nicest possible way. You take everything with a little bit of pinch of salt, because he knows that his team's top of the Championship. He's got players that are playing really well. He doesn't really, I've not played at all, so he knows that he's got a good squad. So he's actually just, I suppose, just being a nice person and just saying what he thinks, rather than just saying, no, you're not going unless they pay this amount of your wages or whatever. Yeah. I think because they tried to get rid of me anyway, they were just wanting me to get out the door. I'd say.
Fair enough. And
I've got nothing but respect for Daniel Farker. Yeah. He was great with me. Him and his team were really good with me, and I got on really well with him. So I'm just gutted that I couldn't be fit to have played for him.
Sure. And that contract came to an end. I think it was the end of the 18-19 season. I mean, at this point, I think you probably had already, you probably knew it was coming at that stage. But how did you process that moment? Was it sort of just like a moment of closure, move on to the next chapter, or did it still come as some sort of surprise at all?
No, it wasn't a surprise. No, it wasn't a surprise. But no, I knew that, and then I had to make a decision what I wanted to do, whether I wanted to continue to play, whether I didn't, whether I thought my body could handle it, whether I thought I should just pack it in. But again, I'd worked so hard. I'd given up so much to get myself fit with regards to my family, everything, my body. So I was like, no chance. I'm not stopping now. And I had some decent offers. I've gone to some few different places, and ultimately it come down to a phone call from Martin Tyler, that was just ridiculous. I started doing the media and the punditry at this point, and he called me out of the blue, and I didn't have his number, so it come up, and I'm one of them that I actually like to answer them calls rather than not. So I answered it, and it was like, "Hi, Matt, it's Martin Tyler," and I was like, oh, this is unbelievable. What's he want me to do at Sky? And he was like, he said, don't, you might not know, but I'm the assistant manager at Woking. I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, I'd love you to come down and play. I know you're a local lad. We're part-time. It'd be great for you. We'd love you to come down. And I was just like, I just didn't quite know how to process it. And he just, in the end, was just like, look, I think this was on the Friday. And he was like, look, have the weekend. We've got a game on the Tuesday against QPR 23s as a friendly. Just see what you think and come down and play. And then I went down and played in the game, played 90 minutes, absolutely loved it. The lads were brilliant. And I just signed up straight away.
I believe, am I here? Sorry, my connection's been horrid this last 10 minutes, but I believe you scored on your debut as well.
Yeah, that's right. I scored with my second touch. Yeah, I come on like again. Is just the way it is. Like, I came on in my first game. I came on the last 30 minutes. Scored my second touch and then got an assist, and we won 2-0. So I got a goal and assist in my first 30 minutes. The second game, I've come from the hospital. My daughter had just been born, so I played the last 30 minutes. Came on, got another assist. So I'd done 60 minutes, 1 goal, 2 assists. I was thinking this is going to be brilliant. I'm having great fun. And then COVID hit, and that was it. Season over.
Yeah,
madness.
How did it? Obviously, I know it's gone a little bit longer. How did it?
Yes, I was going to say I might have to.
Yeah, we'll wrap it. We'll wrap it soon.
Just a couple more questions, and we'll wrap it up. Obviously, don't want to take up much more of your time, but I did just want to ask, what was it? Comparing the leagues, obviously Woking was non-league at this point, compared to playing, Football League, Premiership, which you did. How big was the gulf in difference there in quality?
I mean, there's always going to be a difference, but the teams were getting better and better. The players were, in my time, they were at Woking, they were part-time. So some of the lads were working during the day and then coming, and their dedication and their commitment and their appetite to be there was phenomenal. There's players in the Premier League that don't have that appetite.
For sure.
They were brilliant. There's sometimes there's a lack of quality and things, but the commitment levels are great, and everyone would run and play. Like, that's when you're talking about injuries. People would be playing through anything to play. So but I really enjoyed it. As I said, I just wanted to play football. So it was for me, it was just a chance to go back and play. And for me, it was local as well, which helped with my family.
Yeah. I guess that really is doing it for the love of the game.
Definitely.
Literally.
Well, let me tell you, I wasn't doing it for the money. That's for sure.
I can imagine.
Fair enough.
All right, cool. Just getting towards the end then of this. So, obviously, 30th of May 2021, you announced your retirement after 18 years of service to the game. What was your sort of? I know you said COVID came around as well. What was that the final decision really for you that made you think,
No, so I played the following season.
Oh, okay.
So the following season came after COVID. I played that season, and then towards the end of that season, it just sort of, with the National League and COVID, it was a bit. It wasn't great. The Premier League could survive, and the National League wasn't great. We were in the semi-final of the Cup, and if we won that, we're playing at Wembley. We lost in the semi-final, and it just sort of not pitted out, but we, I then got furloughed. It was at that point, you could furlough people. So I got furloughed till the end of the season. And then I was just like, when it got to the end of the season, I was just like, I'm 35, body's probably about right time to finish. I think if it had maybe gone slightly different that season, maybe I could have tried to do a little something more, but I think it was perfect time for me, perfect time for my body. And I've got no regrets at all about my whole career. Would I have liked to do this and do that? Yeah, of course. But I know that I look back on my career and I couldn't have given it anything more. There's not one time you think, oh, actually, if I would have just done this, then maybe. I can't think like that. I know that I couldn't have done any more. So yes, I wish I didn't go into a block tackle with Yaya Toure, and that's how my knee injury first came about.
Oh wow!
But apart from that, there's nothing else I could have done.
Yeah.
Do you know what? There was me and Prince were talking about that, and obviously we've come across how that injury happened. And I remember watching the City games, and players used to run away from Yaya Toure, but you decided to do the opposite, and I think you found out.
Terrible decision. Terrible decision. I never used to tackle anyway, so I don't know why I even went in for it. Just a terrible decision.
And just one more, one last question from me, and then I just want to do a couple quick fire questions with you, and then that's it. But obviously being retired for a little while, I just wanted to know, have you ever considered like management or coaching? Did you do any badges or anything like that? Or
yeah, so I've done my badges, and I had my own football academy for 3 years.
In that,
but it's not really. I love the media and the punditry. It's not really something I wanted to be a manager. No. Never say never, but it's not really high on my radar at all.
Yeah.
I've done a CEO of a sports organisation course. I'm trying to look to sort of get on that side of things, and I love doing the media, co-commentaries and all of that. So I think I'll probably stick to that side of it rather than in the dugout.
Yeah, cool. No, I like that. It's cool. So yeah, that brings us towards the end. Just a couple quick fires, and then we'll be on your way. Most memorable goal of your career, yourself or a teammate or an opposition? Just a memorable one.
Yeah. I mean, I'll probably go with two. First one would be my goal against Villa, just because of the meaning and what it meant to me. The other one would be Sylvain Ebanks-Blake's away at Charlton. I don't know if you ever remember it. It was, he'd done got to the corner, did a chop right in behind the player, cut inside and whipped it into the top corner. It was a phenomenal goal. So I'd say them two. They all stick in my mind.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Toughest.
And
go on.
One gone. Okay, two more. Toughest opponent you played against?
I've already mentioned him, Ashley Cole.
Facts.
Fair enough. And most talented player you've played with?
Ravel Morrison.
Ooh.
Wow.
We hear that a lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
You do hear that a lot, though, about his
That's interesting.
Top talent.
Wow. Okay. Cool. Prince, let's wrap it up.
Listen, Matt, I can't thank you enough for giving us your time for this. You've been our first special guest on the podcast, and it's been a good one. So I appreciate you giving us the time. That's been the Last Call podcast.